COVID impacted my business in the sense that
it was devastating, to be honest.
A mentor mentioned to us that, we should really focus in on the online experience. And this was prior to COVID. And we were like, no, like our bricks and mortar is beautiful.
All of the spring events, the summer events, those just got wiped clean right off the slate.
People were canceling. Nobody really knew what was going on.
And it all stopped. And basically, that's what I did.
In 2014, we made a decision to explore a new part of Canada. And so we were in New Brunswick at that time and decided to spend some time in Alberta. And so when we arrived in Alberta, Judith was working in geriatric nursing at the time. And so it takes about 3 months for the license to transfer from province to province. And we took advantage of that opportunity to start to learn how to make a few natural products on our own. And the reason being was we were using natural products for our sensitive skin needs while in New Brunswick. And in 2014 in Southern Alberta, we couldn't find those products very easily or very readily. And so living in rural Alberta, we just started creating our own. And that is kind of the genesis, so to speak, of where we got involved initially in making natural beauty products.
I'm Gary Giesberger. My brother Gordon and I, we own and operate the Giesberger Farmhouse Cider located just east of Oshawa in the municipality of Clarington. So we grew up with our grandfather and our father pressing apples, and that was very seasonal at that point. We've got pictures here where Gordon and I are not even in our teens when we're pressing apples. And I'm retired now, Gord's retired now. So we're devoting all our time to working with the apple cider, and it's taking up all our time, and that's a good thing.
My name is Daphne March, and I'm owner and founder of Shumasha. Shumasha is a memory from my childhood, from my dad. And he always used to say, hi, Shumasha, Shumasha, Shumasha. And it was like an instant human connection. So basically, Shumasha is a spirit. It's a spirit that goes on, and it's supposed to be for me, for my family, and for our community, and for the world to share it. And that's what we're creating through the Shumasha business, a human connection.
I'm Spencer A. McIntyre. I'm the CEO of CIFA Group Inc. I just got this offer from a buddy of mine who owned a record label to take care of their taxes. He just asked if I was still doing it. And then so I was like, okay, cool. Let's see what we can do here. And then a few people approached me the following tax season asking if I could still do their taxes, even though I was no longer at the firm. And I was like, yeah, I could use the extra cash. And it just kind of snowballed because they were like, oh, cool. Can I send you my friend? And then their friends. And then it just kept being this big thing. And then I was like, okay, cool. I guess this is what I'm doing now.
With the community, we're fortunate to be in a still small community where you do recognize people's cars as they go up the road, or people when you go to town, sort of thing. We're getting along well. We have a lot of community involvement, working with different organizations. Clarington Board of Trade is good. Central County's tourism is really good to work with, along with Ontario Farm Fresh, Durham Farm Fresh. We've become part of an organization called A Country Path, which is some smaller farms and smaller businesses in the Mitchell's Corners, Clarington, Tyrone area. And we've grouped ourselves together as A Country Path, and with the support of Clarington Tourism, Durham Tourism, and Central Counties Tourism, those organizations help us out quite a bit with guiding us along what we need to do. We were able to develop what used to be fall tours and Christmas tours where people could drive around and visit us. This year with the COVID situation, it might be a little bit different, but we're involved with a lot of groups that are really good at exchanging information, helping each other out, and making sure that everybody's successful.
We opened in early December, and as soon as we did, the community was exceptionally supportive. We were overwhelmed with how well we did in our first month. We had a small Facebook following, but it was consistently people coming in and saying, oh, my friend at work told me about this, or oh, my mother told me about this, or oh, I got some at Christmas time from my sister or from a friend. And and so it was that kind of encouraging word of mouth activity and warm reception of the products. And yeah, the community, I think, coming out, they were very intrigued and interested in natural and handcrafted products. I think at that point in time, people were starting to become much more aware of what they were putting on their skin. They were starting to become more aware of the preservatives and fragrances that were in some of the commercial products and how this was irritating some of their sensitivities.
And we worked in the community that we were in was heavily into healthcare. So a lot of scent-free or scent-sensitive zones. And I worked with a lot of women as well, which also helped with the word of mouth. So, and I took care of almost everybody's grandmother in the town, working in geriatrics, which also, aided in the word of mouth aspect of that too. But yeah, as far as the scent sensitivity, I think the fact that we're in a predominantly healthcare driven town also helped with that.
The community thing is just like, I'm very much involved in a sense where it's like, you always see me out or something in downtown Toronto. I make an effort to speak on panels and whatnot and educate people on how they can improve their financial status and like keep everything very legit with the government and avoid any problems in the future. I've seen a lot of different scenarios throughout my my time.
A mentor mentioned to us that, we should really focus in on the online experience. And this was prior to COVID. And we were like, no, like our bricks and mortar is beautiful. And then we took a step back and we were like, we got to make this work. We got to really focus in on this. So we decided to pull out of our bricks and mortar location. And not only that, we needed a larger production space too. We were running out of room, which is a good problem to have. So all of those factors kind of tied in together, and we were like, hey, this is a pivot, but we're going to pivot hard and we're going to make this work. And then we also decided that alongside focusing in on our e-commerce, we were going to be doing free local delivery to support our local community at this time, because we knew a lot of people didn't want to pay for shipping for something that they weren't used to paying for shipping. Like, it's right down the road. Why can't they go and get it without having to pay a couple extra dollars?
Luckily, already having a website, it took us less than 48 hours to implement a delivery program. And so
took a little tweaking.
Yeah, there was some... as everything does, right? Building and websites and adding apps to it. But I mean, getting that delivery open in the first 48 hours when people were just going into lockdown and were looking to support local businesses. And
they were scared. They wanted to know that they could get things that they were used to getting.
Yeah. And so I think that really worked in our favor. So we had a big, again, huge community support of the pivot. Yeah. And I think that's what really cemented it for us. I mean, we did more in business activity over April of this year than we did in the month leading up to Christmas last year. Which is totally unheard of for a retailer, right? So, it was that level of support and ongoing support and demand for the product that really, again, gave us the confidence to follow through on our decisions. We recognized this could be a lingering concern for a couple of years. We were small enough that we could make a full pivot. We hadn't yet committed to multiple leases in different locations, so we just had the one location that we needed to close at that time. And so we were fortunate that we didn't have more invested into different retail locations. It might have been a much more challenging pivot for us to make.
COVID impacted my business in the sense that, especially because it came in March, which is my one of my two busiest months usually throughout the year. So, all months are pretty busy. It used to be just tax season, but now it's kind of, because of where I am at, there's so much more going on. So right at the beginning of March, I had to, people were canceling. Nobody really knew what was going on. And I watched and I was just like, okay, cool. So I decided to move everything to remote meetings anyway. So yeah, whether that meant FaceTiming, Zoom calls, Skype calls, just regular phone calls. I had to make it happen. I shut down my office and moved everything into my apartment, which oddly enough was where the original office was. So I went right back there. And I mean, it ended up working out pretty well, but I'd had to, like, none of my staff was there, so I couldn't take certain phone calls, and I had to make everyone book online, which seems to have worked itself out, and most people seem to be pretty okay with that. I've always been someone who kind of looks for, like, I'm like, okay, well, what's the next step? How are we getting through this? Yeah, it's like, and I've never really stopped. Like, I hate to use the shark analogy, but like a shark, I gotta keep swimming. Yeah, and a lot of that comes from, we didn't really have a lot of money when I was growing up, so it was always like, okay, well, how are we gonna get through the next month? And like, there's no like stop. You're never like, okay, cool, I'm good here, So, and it was just more like I kind of know how to exist in the chaos of things, I guess. Where it's like, okay, cool, this is crumbling. Instead of freaking out about it, take a deep breath. What am I going to do? What do I have to change?
It was interesting. Like all businesses, it's been a bit of a challenge for sure. Back in the spring when this was all kind of coming down the line, what we saw was all of the spring events, the summer events. The one event, I guess, is the Farm Connections event that we go to in April. That was one of the first events we saw get canceled, plus all of the other ones that we go to in the summertime. Those just got wiped clean right off the slate. The fall fairs then, they were next in line. They got canceled. So we basically saw everything that where we sell cider basically get obliterated right off the calendar. So it gave us a chance, like I'm sure everybody else is experiencing it. You got to kind of sit back, take a look at what you do. How can you modify it? How can you change it? What do you need to change in order to keep the ball rolling? So we came up with porch pickup for people to come by the farm here and pick it up from the porch. We developed local home delivery if they wanted us to deliver it. We beefed up our online presence with our online store, which served us very well in the springtime. Once it got some momentum behind it, and we've become involved in 2 virtual farm markets, which is working out well. Some great ideas came around, and it looked like it was going to work well. So we decided to join up with the Kendall Hill Virtual Farm Market and the Bowmanville Rico Farm Market.
It was devastating, to be honest. In February, I just got back from a meeting with ITAC in Vancouver and spent a lot of time at different hotels and different experiences and taking part of that, doing some market search is something that we could be able to avail of at our center. And then we had a loan that we could avail of. We had a contractor at Ireland and deposit on to expand on these other 2 businesses. We had a website ready to go. We had so much ready for this summer for tourism, welcome them, on site. And I had training that I was doing and all these things, and it all stopped. And basically that's what I did, because I had to stop, because the world is different now. Things are not like it used to be. When are the tourists going to come? The Newfoundland shut the borders. Canada shut the borders. We had this marketing campaign with ITAC, and, we had these conferences that we were going to, and we were excited about it, So basically what I did is I just stopped, and like I tell people when I talk to people that, in my wellness community, and I just practiced what I've preached, really. And I stopped and I went into meditation. I smudged and asked for, some guidance from my ancestor, from the Creator. And what I looked at is that I need to go back. I need to go back to my roots. So the site that I was developing was taking me a long time to develop that site. And I looked at it and said, why is it taking me that long? Why is the community is not in line with my values? That wasn't what I imagined that will be. The partnerships of that I was trying to develop, they wasn't in line, and it was all these things that I looked at and being really truly honest about it. And do I want to go into more debt? you know, in the times of change. Look at what I have. So that's what I did. So basically the things that I was going to develop for experiences and workshops and experiences. But what I've done is I looked at, we have boats, we have paddle boards, we have nature. We have people that I could hire to help me and all this. So basically what I've looked at is doing retreats, experiences, and being partnership with other people that got these places already developed. I don't really need to develop and spend more money on a location that really takes us in that location only. I was lucky enough that I was gifted with my father's house that he built for my grandmother and him when his house burnt. The land that my grandfather walked over 100 years ago. So I'm going to go back there and create stories from our community that I started 2 years ago and really dig deep into my ancestry, and then create things all across the island of Newfoundland, Labrador, maybe in Atlantic Canada, my retreats, and tell our story. And partnership with the art community in Corner Brook. We have a beautiful art school there to tell the Shamasha story, to inspire others, and do a platform online that would be able to get people excited about coming and about our Mi'kmaq communities, and see that they will be excited and meet us and form something online that be able to do something, create something there and be excited about. So the COVID has been devastating, but now I look at it as an opportunity for my business.
Canadian business owners pour their hearts and souls into their businesses and communities. Legacy Leadership Lab is working to see business owners like these have recovery options that leverage their community value. Learn more about social acquisitions for business recovery today.